50 Cent just locked his sights on Jim Jones. And this time, it's way bigger than a rap debate. It's starting to look like a heavyweight match moving in slow motion, and every second is getting messier.
Jimmy was not a rapper then.
Right.
He was your man, like on the side, like in the side, just he was not a rapper at all.
Right.
So when balling took place, and I'm looking and I'm going, oh, he having a moment. That's the Lloyd Banks. It's Lloyd Banks.
It all kicked off when Jim Jones sat down with Fat Joe and Jadakiss on their podcast. But instead of showing love to one of the most respected legends in hip-hop, Jim came swinging with wild confidence.
Yeah, I just seen the Breakfast Club. Jimmy popping all that bull. I be seeing Jimmy talking about, we Gucci boo boo. He in the Gucci store. Talking about, we Gucci boo boo. The Black King niggas was going fuck you up. Jimmy, they was like, Marita Monero.
He didn't just throw shade, he tossed lyrical grenades straight at Nas. He boldly claimed he's a better rapper than Nas, and that he's done more for the culture than Nas ever could. That's not just confidence, that's a shockwave. Especially coming from someone who once idolized Nas. That statement hit different. Jim wasn't laughing, he wasn't joking. His face said it all. Pure ego, pure pride, no filter. And of course, once 50 Cent heard about it, things took a whole new turn. You already know 50. He doesn't miss a single chance to stir the pot. 50 jumped on his platform and started clowning Jim in the most savage way possible. He mocked how Jim's always hanging around in Gucci stores saying, Jimmy be in there like, we Gucci boo. 50 made it sound like Jim was trying to live out some royal fantasy, acting like he's rewriting hip-hop history one designer bag at a time.
He wanted that. He was watching them be that, like Mace be that and Cam be that, and looked at, and it was finally, he had one.
Mm-hmm.
And I just looked, and I knew, I just took the shot, Murder, to see, because I wasn't sure he was going to go for it. Mm-hmm. But I was like, we like Jimmy better than you anyway, Cam. Then you got to watch and see how he responds. And then when you see, he like, oh, he really like that. Like, give me this, give me Jimmy. Yeah, tell him we want you at the show, Jimmy. Yeah, but that was one of those things I just threw it out and see what. And then when he bit to it, because it was like he was having a moment that not sure that was going to ever happen again at that point. And then he's going, for them, they had records that were, look, I always said it's a certain artist, I go, damn, when is he going to have his moment? Like, Fab, I said.
The way 50 did it wasn't playful either. It was surgical. He cut straight to the ego and made it clear he saw right through the act. To 50, this wasn't real confidence. It was all performance. Like a puppet show where everyone can see the strings. He even hinted that Jim's sudden loyalty switch, riding hard for Jay-Z now like that's his big brother, just didn't sit right. That switch up don't smell right, was the vibe 50 gave off loud and clear. He even suggested this whole thing might have been a setup, the let's see who reacts kind of play. And Jim, he bit the bait instantly, like he'd been waiting for a headline to bring him back into the spotlight. It almost felt like he'd been craving this kind of attention, like the fame clock was running low and he finally got a spark to keep it ticking. But to really get why this moment exploded the way it did, you gotta rewind the story. The tension didn't start on Fat Joe's podcast. It's been simmering quietly for years. During the show, Fat Joe mentioned how some younger fans online were comparing Jim Jones to Nas, saying Jim had more cultural influence and hits for their generation. That was Jim's moment to keep it cool, maybe tip his hat to a hip-hop icon and check the young fans with some respect. But instead of peace, he chose chaos. And that's when everything started to spiral. Instead of backing down, Jim leaned in even harder, like he wanted the smoke. He laughed and said, these new kids don't even know Nas. Then he doubled down, claiming his own influence is way bigger. That moment turned the whole room tense. Fat Joe tried to play peacemaker, keeping it smooth and diplomatic, but you could see the shock in his eyes. And Jada? Man, Jadakiss had that classic Jada look, like he just heard the wildest take ever, but didn't want to be the one to light the fuse. It was like you could see his soul drift out of his body for a second. Jim started flexing heavy, talking about how the younger crowd learned their entire style from him. The BB Simon belts, the Harlem swagger, the whole Dipset drip. He painted the picture like he was the blueprint. He even said the new generation connects with him the same way his generation connected with Nas. He tried to flip it like it was just hip-hop evolution. That Nas was his idol, but now he's the one inspiring the youth. If he had stopped right there, it would have been whatever. Just a man proud of his era, but he didn't stop. He hit the gas. Jim started pulling out numbers, bragging about Billboard entries, Spotify streams, viral records, and chart placements like they proved he's outpacing Nas in relevance. He made it sound like stats and streaming counts are what make a legend now.
Recently saw a clip on Instagram where a young kid was comparing you to Nas and saying that you got
that's my young boy
big
right there.
hits.
He's wild.
Yo, he looked to you. He learned how to wear the BB Simon belt from you. He got his swag. Like, how crazy is that? Because in my era, you know what I'm saying, Nas is like a god.
In my era too. I mean,
So to be compared,
let me
that young kid out.
he was young and we loved that he loved Jim Jones. I want you to break it down.
Let's break this down. I admired Nas, but remember Nas' first record, The Barbecue, came out when I was in 11th grade.
But the internet, they weren't having it. Not one bit. Nas fans pulled up receipts like soldiers on a mission. They dropped screenshots, stats, and history lessons in the comments. All side-by-side comparisons showing Jim didn't even come close. Within hours, the timeline turned into a digital roast session, and Jim found himself at the center of a social media storm he clearly didn't see coming. Nas's resume completely dwarfs Jim's, and the numbers don't lie. Nas got 27 Billboard 200 entries, 16 top 10 albums, and 6 number 1s. Jim, just 9 entries, 3 top 10s, and 0 number 1s. Stat for stat, Nas got him outclassed 10 times over, and that's before you even talk about cultural impact. Albums like Illmatic, It Was Written, and Stillmatic didn't just drop, they reshaped hip-hop. So when Jim started bragging, it didn't just fall flat, it blew up in his face. He tried to use stats to chip away at a monument, but all it did was remind everyone how small he looked standing next to it. It's like trying to knock down a skyscraper with a pebble. It's not happening. And this isn't even some random one-off clash. The tension between Nas and Dipset goes way back. In the early 2000s, Nas publicly called out Dipset, mocking Cam'ron's Come Home With Me album and basically calling it garbage. Cam didn't take that lightly. He fired back over Nas's own Hate Me Now beat, and boom, a full-blown war exploded. Harlem versus Queens, Pride versus Legacy. For years, shots were flying, in tracks, in interviews, and through subliminals. And right in the middle of all that chaos, Jim Jones, always there, hyping it up, backing Cam like a loyal soldier ready to ride. He played the sidelines but never quietly, always ready to turn up the volume when the beef got hot. But as time went on and Dipset's star started to fade, the energy shifted. Jim slowly started stepping back from the old drama and began inching closer into Jay-Z's orbit. The very move that makes this story so wild. Because here's the twist. Jim didn't just have issues with Nas, he also had a long, bitter rivalry with Jay-Z too. Back in the day, Jay used to clown Jim in public, and the two traded shade like it was sport. And now, seeing Jim trying to cozy up to Jay got people seriously side-eyeing his loyalty. Jay-Z and Dipset had been throwing shots at each other for years, but the real breaking point came when Jay straight up refused to make Cam'ron the vice president of Rockefeller. That one decision cracked the Harlem Rock relationship wide open. Jim immediately took Cam's side and went after Jay with everything he had, calling him soft, saying he wasn't really connected to the streets, and accusing him of shutting Harlem out of the rock movement. Things got ugly, and this wasn't just rap talk either. It spilled into real life. Back in 2008, Jim actually got into a physical fight with one of Jay-Z's close friends at a Louis Vuitton store in Manhattan. That wasn't a PR stunt, that was real heat. He later pled guilty to misdemeanor assault, proving this beef wasn't just for headlines or clout, it was personal. Straight pride and pain mixed together. Now fast forward to today, and the same guy who once declared war on Jay is suddenly popping up on podcasts, taking slick shots at Nas, and acting like he's rewriting his place in hip-hop history. history, all while playing nice with Jay-Z's camp. You can see exactly why 50 Cent's calling him a puppet.
Up and things like that.
I've heard you say that.
Since the barbecue and things like that, like he really put the whole dope boy rap, crack hustler, get fresh rap into perspective before anybody else. Before I heard Jay do it, before I heard anybody else, like he changed the cadence of rap into a whole different steam. Like he's the one that broke the camel's back when it came to artists like, to me, when it came to artists like Big Daddy Kane and all these artists that came right before him. Like after Nas came with that, they started to fade out, and then Jay, Fat Joe, like all of these rappers that are spitting about the life that we was really starting to live right now and how it was changing. Like this is, you know what I mean? So that's how I felt about that whole.
The timeline looks way too convenient. Jim's talking like a man trying to reshape the narrative, polishing up his past like the internet forgot the receipts. But the truth's still sitting there in plain sight, and then the receipts don't lie. Jim wasn't leading Harlem alone. He wasn't the sole torchbearer. Dipset had their moment, no doubt. Ballin' was a certified anthem. Nobody's denying that. But while Jim was celebrating his run, Nas was out here shaping the culture. Nas didn't even need to clap back. His silence hit harder than any diss could. In that podcast room, you could feel the tension. Nas didn't have to say a word. His legacy spoke for him. Even Jadakiss didn't need to jump in. That look on his face said it all. The kind of look that says, man, this conversation's about to age badly. Nas is a certified legend, and period. He doesn't need to argue numbers or titles with Jim Jones. That's like Michael Jordan getting into a stats debate with the 9th man off the bench. It just doesn't make sense. Nas's legacy speaks for itself. He's been at the top for decades while still pushing the culture forward. Even media outlets kept it real. Nobody's putting Jim Jones on a top 10 lyricist list, not even close. When he starts barking at Nas, it doesn't look like competition. It looks like someone shouting from the sidelines just to get noticed. And that's exactly why 50 Cent's involvement hits different. He's not just stirring the pot for fun this time. He's exposing what he believes is a behind-the-scenes industry move. 50's basically implying that Jay-Z might be pulling strings from the shadows, using Jim as the mouthpiece to take subtle jabs at Nas's legacy, all while keeping his own hands clean. 50 even mocked Jim, saying, "Were you smoking when you said you better than Nas?" and laughing it off like it was pure comedy. Then he added, "Nas was nice when I was in high school." A reminder that Nas's greatness isn't up for debate. It's history. It's classic power politics. Jay gets to shift the narrative, Jim gets the headlines, and Nas ends up back in the center of conversation without even saying a word. Meanwhile, 50 plays the ultimate instigator, stirring the chaos, poking the bear, and making sure the world's tuned in to watch every move unfold. But Jim didn't back off. He doubled down. He said if Nas really wants to smoke, then step in the booth. Jim claimed he's the most active New York rapper in 2025, saying he's rapping at a higher level than Nas right now. Sure, some people gave him credit for his recent grind, but let's keep it real. Nas has been on a legendary run. With albums like King's Disease and Magic, plus his collaborations with Hit Boy, he's been proving he's in a whole new second prime. Jim's claim might sound bold, but when you zoom out, it looks like he's swinging at a wall that's not even facing his direction. The irony is wild. After all that history, all those shots he took at Jay-Z, all that Harlem pride he shouted from the rooftops, Jim ended up circling right back to the same man he once called the enemy. The same Jay he dissed became the one he leaned on when his career started losing steam. That's not strategy, that's survival mode.
No, nobody else. Me, Jim Jones. Check my track record. Then check everybody else's track record. Then go to the billboards and check all my entries. Then check all them entries and like that. If you want to go to the billboard entries, pull up Nas billboard entries. Then pull up my billboard entries.
Can we address one thing though?
Go ahead.
Jim Jones has 9 entries in the Billboard 200 with 3 top 10 albums and no number ones, while Nas has 27 entries, 16 top 10 albums, and 6 that have reached number 1 on the Billboard 200.
Right now, 2025, I'm in the game still rapping at a high capacity. If Nas wants to smoke, come in the booth. I will rap circles around.
Jim Jones is rapping at a high capacity right now in 2025. I'm on record as saying I think some of the best music that's been coming out of New York in recent years has been from Jim Jones. I haven't seen Nas in that mode. Nas still makes great music at a high level. I just haven't seen Nas in that, you know, let's get active, getting at each other more.
It's poetic in a twisted kind of way. The Harlem kid who once wanted to dethrone the king ended up kneeling right at his feet, hoping for a handshake, maybe even a deal, something to spark a little life back into his name. That's why people struggle to trust Jim completely. His loyalty moves with the wind. One day he's standing firm for the squad, the next he's switching lanes. So when he starts throwing shade at Nas, it doesn't feel like truth. It feels like tactics, like he's using controversy as currency. No matter how many teams Jim joins or how many alliances he forms, he always finds a way to flip the script when it benefits him. And that right there, that's why 50 Cent's never respected him. In the 50s world, loyalty is everything. You can lose a fight and still earn respect, but switching sides, that's unforgivable. Jim's history says it loud. His moves talk louder than his lyrics ever could. But of course, Jim tried to flip that perception in interviews. He puffed his chest out and said, "I'm still here from whatever picture you painted of me. Hype man, not the best rapper, late bloomer. Whatever narrative you want, you still gotta listen to me talking to you in 2025. Then he added, "What I did for Nas has probably never been done for him in his life. He's never been this viral ever." And to be fair, he's not completely wrong. His Nas comments did light up the internet like wildfire. The buzz was real. The memes, the debates, the think pieces, they were everywhere. But let's be honest, that attention wasn't built on lyrical power or musical dominance. It was built on drama. The last time Nas got dragged into this kind of chaos was all the way back in 2007, during the height of the G-Unit versus Dipset beef. And just like then, the noise was loud, but the legacy stood untouched. That's when Jim really showed the world what kind of moves he's willing to make, and it caught everyone off guard. In a shocking twist, he suddenly popped up at a G-Unit event after 50 Cent invited him. The crowd went crazy, thinking something major was about to happen. Maybe a new alliance, maybe a business deal, maybe even a peace moment between Harlem and Queens. But nope, 50 wasn't recruiting, he was exposing. 50 brought Jim on stage just to make a point, to show Cameron and the entire industry that Jim would do anything for a little piece of spotlight. No contracts, no big offers, no secret deal, just a cold, calculated chess move. 50 played the board like a master, while Jim stood there looking like a pawn caught mid-game. That moment was icy. 50 smiled like the king who had just set the perfect trap. From that day on, he stopped seeing Jim as a rival and started seeing him as weak, a man with no real code to stand on. Fast forward to now, and the story's flipped again. 50 and Jay-Z have been locked in a quiet Cold War for years, each playing their own version of chess in the industry shadows. So when Jim went running back to Jay for a lifeline, that was it. He crossed enemy lines. The second that Roc Nation deal got signed, the air in hip-hop shifted. That new alliance was loud, and the betrayal even louder. 50 later opened up about it, explaining why the tension with Jay-Z never really died down. When Jay and the NFL were putting together that legendary Super Bowl halftime show, 50 noticed his name was mysteriously missing from the first promo ad. He said, "I wasn't in the ad because Jay-Z and them were putting it together. I think they still harbor some energy towards me." Then 50 broke it all down. The behind-the-scenes calls, the real power moves, and revealed how Eminem himself stepped in and made it happen. He told Jay straight up that he wouldn't perform unless 50 was part of it. That's when 50 dropped the mic with the quote that shook everything up. "The white guy called for 50, Jay told NORE. That line alone showed how deep the grudges and the politics in hip-hop still run today. That's his guy, and that right there is the difference. When things got real, Eminem rode for 50 without even thinking twice. That's loyalty in its purest form. No hesitation, no second guessing, just solid brotherhood. Meanwhile, Jim was out here bouncing from one camp to another, switching sides like a free agent desperate to stay relevant. Not long after that unforgettable Super Bowl moment, Jim suddenly started throwing slick shots at Nas. And 50, he didn't buy the coincidence act for 1 second. In 50's eyes, Jay-Z's been itching to reignite that old Nas rivalry. But this time, he's moving quiet, staying clean while letting Jim do the dirty work. That's classic Jay. Move in silence, let someone else take the hit, then collect the win later. So when 50 caught wind of this sneaky new Jay-Jim alliance, he didn't waste a second. He jumped straight on Instagram like he was grabbing popcorn for the show. Memes, captions, old clips. He brought everything. He roasted Jim like only 50 can, calling him out for selling out and switching sides, like a player hopping teams mid-season just to stay on the court. 50 labeled him the industry's favorite puppet, hinting that Jay was the one pulling the strings behind the scenes, letting Jim take all the heat while he stayed cool in the background. But make no mistake, 50 wasn't just trolling for laughs this time. He meant business. He's been calling out Jay-Z's quiet power moves for years, saying this is just another example of how Jay plays the long game, sending others to do the talking while he stands back with that calm grin, acting untouchable. The internet caught fire with it too. Fans started digging up old interviews where Jim used to gush over Nas, calling him one of the greatest, saying he inspired his entire approach to music. That's what made the whole thing sting even more. To 50, and to a lot of hip-hop fans, this wasn't just rap politics anymore. It was a loyalty test, and Jim looked like he failed it again. Those old clips spread through the internet like wildfire. Suddenly, the same guy who once praised Nas for shaping his hustle was now out here talking like Nas was beneath him. And people weren't having it. The memes came flying, the timelines were brutal, painting Jim as two-faced and thirsty for attention. And the best part, Nas didn't even blink. He stayed calm, stayed quiet, and kept doing what legends do, dropping timeless music, collecting Grammys, and walking like a man who's already cemented his legacy. Meanwhile, Jim's out here chasing clout battles like a rookie, still trying to get noticed in the league. 50 Cent, of course, is loving every second of it. He's been firing shots at Jim from every angle, sometimes with slick humor, other times with pure precision, but always cutting deep. He even said straight up that Jim's the type of dude who diss just to impress his boss. That line hit hard, because deep down, it sounded too real. Then the whisper started. Talk that Roc Nation's PR team might have nudged Jim to stir things up with Nas just to create buzz. Once that rumor hit social media, the conspiracy flames went wild. Fans started connecting dots, saying controversy equals clicks, and nobody plays the PR game better than Jay-Z. If 50's theory holds any truth, then Jim's not calling the shots. He's just a pawn in a bigger chess match. And worse, a disposable pawn at that. But 50 being 50, and he didn't stop at throwing shade. He went straight for the jugular. He started digging up old stories, moments when Jim allegedly begged for features, chased meetings with top names, and got curved by the industry's elite. Every post, every story was meant to peel back that tough Harlem image Jim built and expose the man underneath. A rapper scrambling to stay relevant in rooms that never really wanted him there. The internet ate it up, the memes didn't stop, and suddenly Jim wasn't the one steering the narrative anymore. He was the narrative. What started as a few reckless comments about Nas has now exploded into a full-blown war. Pride, legacy, power, and reputation all twisted together like a street chess match where every move has consequences. Jim's out here trying hard to prove he belongs in the same sentence as a legend, but every time he makes a move, 50 finds another reason to drag both him and Jay. 50's sitting back, watching the whole thing unfold like a chess grandmaster, smiling as his opponents play right into his hands. Jay's entire career has been built on control. From borrowing Biggie's blueprint to freezing out Dame Dash to keeping Cameron from shining too bright, Jay's mastered the art of quiet dominance. He doesn't yell, he doesn't tweet, he moves. And now, with Jim stirring the pot for him, Jay doesn't even have to lift a finger. He lets others make the noise while he stays spotless in the shadows. It's cold, it's strategic, it's genius. And that's exactly why 50 doesn't mess with either of them. His code has always been loyalty over politics. When the world turned its back, Eminem stood by him. No hesitation. That bond still runs deep. When Jay allegedly tried to block 50 from that massive Super Bowl stage, M didn't flinch. He told them straight up he wouldn't perform unless 50 was there. That's real loyalty. Not business moves, not fake alliances, just pure respect between brothers. Because when all the trends fade, when the hype dies down, and when the charts reset, respect is what lasts forever. Jim might be making headlines in 2025, but let's be honest, Nas built the foundation he's standing on. You can't troll your way into greatness. You build it with consistency, impact, and legacy that time can't erase. So now it's on you. Whose side are you taking in this wild saga? Team 50, Team Jay, Team Jim, or Team Nas? The legend who doesn't even need to say a word to win. Make sure you hit that subscribe button and drop your thoughts below. This story's far from over, and you don't want to miss what's coming next.